So in this video, we are going to use Microsoft Word to create a document for us that our customer can use to present to their board of directors. The scenario here is that the customer is interested in using Copilot, but their corporate strategy up until now, they're a finance firm, has been on-premises resources. So they have no cloud at all at the moment. They use Exchange and they use SharePoint and file shares, but these are all held in data centers. So they have been asked to put together a paper to present to their board, to their owner, why they should shift their strategy from on-premises to Microsoft Cloud. So we're actually going to use Copilot to do this work for us. They had some questions which they shared with us yesterday that they need to answer. So those questions are: how secure is the cloud? How can this information be evidenced with references into financial services? Is cloud more secure than on-premises, and why? What applications does being on premises prevent them from using? And they've given us some examples there. And how does not being in the cloud impact their ability to use Microsoft Copilot? And finally, is there a shift that needs to happen around their IT strategy in order to be using the cloud? So I've asked it to create a document for me with a briefing. The customer's called Big Cash Investment, and we want this document to be created for us. So I am going to click on generate and let's see what happens. So here we go. So it started pulling this together. It's told me it's writing a paper. It's given me a good summary of what it's doing. It's given us the answers, so the questions, I should say, that it's going to answer, which are the questions that I gave it into the prompt. And we can see here it's now starting to attempt to answer the questions that were in there. So it's talking about the Microsoft Cloud, it's talking about some of the security and compliance. If I was being picky, I'd pull out the fact that it's called it Azure Active Directory rather than HUID, but I am being a bit picky there. But you can see here it's pulling each question. I've asked it for references. It's pulling in here some sort of Microsoft customers, so it's picked HSBC, AXA and MasterCard. I could ask it for some other ones. I could ask it for some smaller ones. I wasn't specific about where I wanted those to be. It's one of the key things with Copilot is if you want specific information, be specific. But it's done a pretty good job here. How is it more secure than on premises? So, okay, so it's given us some answers there, but it has given some really good examples here about why Microsoft Cloud. What applications does being on premise prevent us from utilizing? So the customer has kind of answered this already, but it's pulling some of these things out. So Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, Copilot. Shame it hasn't corrected the spelling, but Copilot in there. But it is writing this in the tone of the client. So it is talking about we, even though I told it is my customer, it has recognized the fact that I asked it to write this in first person view. So it has done that. The key thing was the Copilot question, so it has correctly pulled out that Copilot is only available for Microsoft 365 customers who have their data in the cloud, so it's absolutely correct. Let's give them a bit more information about Copilot in here, that's fine. It's talked about their strategy, so it's given some steps and goals and things in here. And this is very much the first pass that Copilot has made. So we have the option here to refine it. So I could ask it some additional questions to put in. I could ask it to add a section. I could ask it to put some use cases for using Copilot in there across our team. So perhaps I could do that. Or if I'm just not happy with the answer, then I can ask Copilot to regenerate it. And the thing to note when you regenerate is these tools like Copilot always produce a slightly different result every single time, and that's part of the uniqueness of AI, which kind of means that if 5 people wrote exactly the same prompt, then the answer would be slightly different. You should get the same context, you should get very similar answers, but it might actually structure a document totally differently. And this is actually quite a useful thing to do because we can click on this, see what it does the second time around, and then we can flick between what version we like. So if I actually say that I don't like this, regenerate it, then Copilot will start again. So here I've asked Copilot to start again, and you see it's now creating the document again. And you'll notice that it is slightly different. So in the first version, it created a summary that had all the questions in it as well. This time round, it's actually created a slightly different looking document, but it has still answered the majority of those questions. Again, it's answered it differently. It's pulled out pretty much the same information, which is good. I'd expect its sources to be relatively correct. It's still referencing the core questions, which is good. It actually has used the same examples. It's actually pulled a fourth in here. So in this example, it's used PayPal as well. Again, there's no reference information here, so I can't actually go and directly check. In some of the Copilot services, it will give me a reference point of where it's got the information from. So I made to double check these against Microsoft Pages to see that these are referenceable. Again, it's answered the questions in pretty much the same way, but it has worded it very differently. So if I was to check this for plagiarism, it would be totally different, which is good. It's pulled out the same application, so this is very similar text to what it did before, which is good. It's actually spelled Copilot right this time, which is nice. But what I've noticed here is it has talked more in third person voice rather than first person. So it has talked about BCIL's ability rather than our ability, which on the first iteration it seemed to do the other way around. But it's still done, I think, a pretty good job. It has added a conclusion to the bottom of this for me as well. So I'm not really sure what version I prefer. So that was the first version that it wrote, where this is the questions. This is the second version that it wrote. So I could again ask for a third version and then take the best version from that. So first version, that's what we've got, slightly longer introduction, 3 examples, but very, very, very similar. There's no conclusion on this section, strangely. On the second version, we've got a slightly shorter introduction, but it has given me at the end a nice conclusion. So I think I actually prefer the second version, so I'm going to keep that version, and we're going to start from here. Again, Copilot to me is really about getting a foot forward. To me, this document's probably 80% complete. There's a few things I would want to add to this. I might want to add some of our own reference customers to this. I might want to tweak the language slightly. And I would probably want to check some of the facts, especially around the case studies and those kind of things. But I think it's done a pretty good job. So there we go. This is Copilot creating a Word document from scratch. If I was to do this or ask my team to do this for me, this would probably have taken a good couple of hours for them to find the time and pull this together and maybe share it with somebody else. This is a pretty good result. I created a very similar document to this just yesterday as a test after my call, and I did run this by some of our technical architects, and they were pretty impressed. They did give me a couple of other pointers that I might want to reference, but I think this has actually done a really, really great job for me. So thank you, Copilot.